Ladies and gents, this is Daniel Dancer, history's biggest cheapskate by the channel SamONella Academy. I'm every day I'm creating SamONella videos because I didn't used to do that before, but I didn't know he had so many videos. So I'm like, why the hell not? So I'm making SamONella videos and it's just great. Every video is just entertaining. So Cheapskate, I've known some in my life. I've known some that is just borderline pisses me off. If I convert it into dollars, there are some people who makes millions and drive around what 12 or $15,000 cars. I'm like, come on, man. I'm nowhere near your level, nowhere near, and I drive better cars. That's just ridiculous. People like cars not important, but yeah, it is. Cars are important, especially if you have money. It's a statement in the end. Now, if there are people who are eating kale and surrounded by skyscrapers, like, no, it's not a statement. Your lives is different, man. Maybe whatever culture you are living in, fashion statesmen and things like that changes with every day, I guess. But if for the most of the world, for the normal world, car is a kind of a statement, even though you don't want cars. So if you're rich, you have to have a good enough car. It's a statement. If you don't, you're just cheapskate. And this guy, his clothes are just horrible. His car is horrible. He uses a Chinese cheap phone. I'm like, God damn, man, come on. So yeah, I've known some cheapskates in my life. And I'm pretty sure knowing this is SamONella, this cheapskate is going to, make everybody look like nothing. Let's watch the video.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey kids, you're probably familiar with at least a few characters whose obsessive penny pinching truly knows no bounds. Yes, from Ebenezer Scrooge to Scrooge McDuck, nobody hoards money quite like misers. But these guys aren't the most miserly misers out there, not by a long shot. First of all, look at their top hats, their extravagant use of glasses, their luxurious chairs. These things are worth their weight in precious shekels. No true miser would waste their wealth on such frills. Second of all, these guys aren't real. They're fictional characters. Scrooge McDuck does not exist. I don't care what CNN says, it's all liberal conspiracy bullshit. I mean, look at this article by the Huffington Post. You mean to tell me that this picture isn't photoshopped? Ridiculous. But you know who was real? One Daniel Dancer of London, England. Born in 1716, Daniel's father died at a young age, leaving behind a large agricultural estate for Daniel to oversee. When it was first inherited, the property brought in a few £100s a year, which doesn't sound like much today, but given that a general laborer could be expected to make around £19 per year in 1710, it's safe to say that Dancer could afford to live a fairly lavish lifestyle off his passive income alone. But Dan was like, all this food and clothing and stuff is alright, but you know what I really like? Owning money. Say, how much does a pound cost? Well, that's a complicated question, Daniel. Can currency really be said to have intrinsic value? Some economists believe that. TLDR, please. They cost a pound. Jesus, that's a lot. I better start saving. Thus began one of the most intentionally frugal lifestyles history has ever seen. Let me walk you through a few of Dancer's day-to-day habits. First of all, soap, don't even think about it. The closest thing to bathing that Daniel did was during the summer months when, once or twice a week, he'd wade into the nearby pond and scrub his face with a handful of sand. Say what you will, but what he lacked in deodorization, he certainly made up for in exfoliation. Admittedly, all of London probably reeked to high hell back then, so while Daniel's smell might not have tipped people off to his...
Yeah, I've seen some movies, TV shows, lots of other videos where, people say around that time, London smelled, England smelled, nobody had hygiene. What the hell is all that about? Did people really smell back then?
Eccentricity. His clothes almost certainly did. On a good day, he'd be seen in one of his coats, which were homemade patchwork abominations of various garments that Dancer found on the streets and local dust heaps, looking like a walking dementia patient sewing circle. Similarly, all his shoes were either scavenged or Frankensteined out of other pairs of shoes he already owned, with the whole ensemble being barely held together with haphazardly tied bands made of the hay grown on his estate. In fact, a lot of the time, he'd ditch normal clothes altogether and just wear the hay. To his credit, in his youth, Daniel was known to purchase a whole 2 shirts per year as his clothing expense. But one day he looked in the mirror and said, "Daniel, you're bleeding funds like a stuck pig. It's time to grow up and get your act together," and cut his budget to only 1 shirt per year. One of the few people that Daniel associated with regularly was his sister, whom he lived with. Believe it or not, she shared in a lot of Daniel's tight-fisted habits, and it definitely showed. She was described as, quote, having more the appearance of a walking dunghill than one of the fair sex. Couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. Dancer prepared all of his food for the upcoming week ahead of time, consisting of only 14 hard dumplings and 3 pounds of beef stretched out over the entire 7-day period. Every day, he'd eat only a single meal that was basically equivalent to 2 wads of dried out dough and 1.5 quarter-pounder.
That's it. You know what? I've known cheapskate in my life, like I said, but they were truly cheapskates. This guy doesn't feel like a cheapskate. He has psychological issues. You know how there are people who are hoarding issues, who are hoarders, who never throw away anything, and their house and rooms look like just hell. You can't even get inside them. It's like that. It's a psychological issues. This is not just about money. It's just psychological issues. Because seriously, man, the level of money he made, he can't afford a soap, proper water, clothes. He stitched together whatever he found. That's nobody does that. Look, if you are a cheapskate, first of all, you want to conserve all your money to yourself. At least you're gonna spend it on food. You're gonna at least spend it on yourself at that level. Not spending on food, not spending on clothes, not spending on anything, let alone for anyone. That's not a cheapskate. That's a psychological issue. You just want to hoard money and not use it. There is something else going on inside.
Patties from McDonald's. He kept this habit up for years without fail, except for one time when he stumbled upon a fully intact, rotting sheep carcass during his daily stroll. He was like, "Good lord, this is just obscene. Who would leave a perfectly good pile of arguably edible meat and organs just sitting around like this?" So he dragged the thing home and made him and his sister a nice big pile of spoiled mutton pies, which they subsisted off of for several weeks. That's a real life hack right there. Who needs refrigeration if it's already rancid, am I right? Despite Daniel's rabid fear of any unnecessary spending, he did own a dog named...
How in the hell did he stay alive after that? I thought that would be it. Some kind of infection would kill him. Really? He survived? Especially if you eat, rancid meat. That's a meat. So whatever germs infected that could easily infect you since it's meat. How did he survive after that, man? Especially around that time. Medicine's not so great.
Bob that he was quite fond of. At this point, I'm almost certain that Dancer just decided to base his entire life off of linoleum by no effects, which is pretty incredible considering linoleum wasn't even invented for another 100 years. Anyway though, one day, Daniel's neighbor came to complain about how Bob had been harassing his sheep. So Daniel said, "Don't worry boy, I ain't gonna kill you, but we don't want a lawsuit on our hands, do we?" "No we don't. What would we do if a lawyer came around here, huh?" "That's right, and make his children watch, yeah." So he decided to take the dog to the local farrier, which is basically a blacksmith that specializes in horseshoes and the like. "Hey, could you make my dog, not have teeth anymore?" What kind of business you think I'm running here, boy?" "Come on, man, you file down horses' hooves for a living. Teeth are just tiny mouth hooves. That's close." "Sorry, buddy, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades." Well, got me there. Say, what's a hand grenade? None of my sources say what happened to the dog after his untimely nubbening, but I do know Dan never got sued, so I guess the operation was a success. God. Daniel's sister passed away in 1766, leaving him so distraught that he actually went out of his way to buy mourning clothes for her funeral. And by that I mean he bought a pair of secondhand black stockings, and that's it. Still, that's a big deal when it comes to the likes of Dancer. At this point, the only person close to a friend that Dancer had was a woman known as Lady Tempest. She was so influential over him that she was actually able to convince him to buy, get this, a 1 shilling hat. This was quite an accomplishment, as Daniel's last hat was older than half of you at 14 years old. "What? I'm not. You don't. Meow. You.
That's all of you."
Of course, the next time Lady Tempest went to hang out with him, he was still wearing his old disgusting hat. When questioned about the one he bought, he goes, "Oh yeah, that frilly old thing. Sold it for a 6 pence profit. Super easy too. I tell you, forget house flipping. Hat flipping is going to be the cool new thing pretty soon." Lo and behold, 250 years later, he was wrong.
He was wrong.
Daniel died at the ripe old age of 78, which seems pretty shocking considering
God damn. My ear.
the whole not using soap, eating rotten food thing, but I guess his near total isolation from other people made up for that when it came to preventing illness. Though he never ended up shelling out any of the massive hoard of wealth that he accumulated over this time, his efforts weren't completely in vain. By the time he passed away, Daniel's estate was now pulling in about £3,000 in yearly net revenue,
Damn.
10 times the amount it earned when he first inherited it. So, moral of the story, parsimony has its place. While it's good to save money,
What an idiot. If he spent his money, lived healthily, maybe he would have lived a few years more. And in just 1 year, he could have saved enough money than whatever he saved by being a cheapskate. Damn, what a moron. Saving money implies two major savings, not small thing here and there. There are people out here, I save small money here and here. I didn't do this, like normal things I should have done, and I saved this much money. What the hell are you gonna do with that money anyway? That was so stupid. There should be at least one standard where you should spend money. And after that, if you don't want to spend excessive money, I understand that. But being a cheapskate, there's a mental issue going on.
don't torture yourself just for the sake of a few bucks. Next time your parent or significant other insists on turning down the thermostat or keeping the windows up to save gas, just say, hey, are we human or are we dancer? But you
And also say that Sam told me to say that.
know what else is more valuable than money?
Knowledge.
That's why you need to try Skillshare.com. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 23,000 classes in technology, design, business, and more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high...
Yeah, people, go to skillshare.com/Samo4. Why is he changing his link? Or just go to the original video page and click on the link and support that channel. SamONella Academy is a great channel. I love all the story he covers. I've never seen any channel cover stories like this. If any of you know it's a channel like this, please comment down, because this is just great, man. Stories like this just feels impossible, but they are real. There were real people like this. I love it. It's the World War II boat story, the improbable survival stories, this story that Tavares, something like that, was hungriest man. That story is just SamONella is a great channel, man. Alright, if you like my reaction, please don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of video to react to more.